Okay, so we're now in recording mode. Welcome to our learning outcome 8, where we're going to demonstrate the basic JavaScript properties and functions. So we're going to create external files, and we're going to look into all JavaScript concepts such as variables, object, functions, and so on.
Okay.
So from our indicative content, we look into alerts, document.get element, classes, and so on. So as we can see from our definition, JavaScript is designed so design and implementing JavaScript code will now involve in understanding how the syntax and how to declare variables and create functions and manipulate documents, object models. So through our DOM. So we also look into dynamic nature, how this will now allow HTML and CSS to interact with our real-time environments. So here we have, let's just open our Visual Studio. Maybe it would be easier if we use some examples. Okay. So where is Visual Studio? Need to move it to the other screen. So we have Visual Studio here. Let's open the folder that we were working with last time, which I called the hello. Select folder. Okay, so this was the project that we initiated. I think we initiated this at the beginning of the course, where we looked into creating HTML file, and then we added images and colored, and then we progressed. We created our CSS file. We added some features like adding colors. So let's go live. Okay, let me move that page here. So as you can see here, we have our website, and as we all know, JavaScript runs in the background. So it's a programming language, and anything that we do is not visual like the same way we see for HTML and CSS. So there are different ways for us to view the source code. So there are a way where we can use view page source, and here gives us the understanding of what is running. So on our Visual Studio code, this is what we declare, and when we use view source code, it shows us what is happening. So it gives us also some script. So this is some script that's automatically run by the web browser, by our Google Chrome. And now there is other ways for us to interact with our JavaScript. So if you right click on the web page and we go into inspect, we can now see a lot of functionality, a lot of things that we define. So we define our heading one, our source, we added our image, and so on. When it comes to JavaScript, everything we add will not seen into element, but will be visible into console. So how do we create our first script? Sorry?
JavaScript's visible in console.
Yes, you see here, console.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we go back to our JavaScript, we can, for us to create something there, we can now, for instance, type script, and we'll now say hello world. Hello world. Um, 1 second. Everything we do here has to go within the brackets. So just 1 second. Where is my Visual Studio? Script, sorry, you have to declare a console dot.log. So this will allow us to display a message into our browser. Hello world, and everything has to end with semicolon. We now click our save. We go back to our browser, and as you can see now is visible. Sorry, I missed hello world. Save. You see? So this is our first JavaScript message. So we just
So
create.
this is like this is the internal version, but you can still have it like the external, like its own JavaScript file.
Oh, yes, yeah, exactly. So I'm just giving you an example of internal JavaScript. So this what I did here, I could have done it in a header or in our
In
body.
header.
Yeah, I
Oh.
could have
So
had this.
you can place it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But the problem is that if you place in a header, you'll be a bit more complex for our browser to pull all the information, because you now have to search for them, and you have to try to interact with our body. But if you place it directly down here, it'll be easier for the browser to understand what sort of code we try to implement. Okay, so this is a simple example. So we can change text. We can say whatever we want to do. Hello, this is my first Java. We hit the save button and we can see how, what's browser? You can see how this has been changed. Also, there is another better way where we create our external file. We call it index.js. So now we have created our JavaScript file, and what we can do, we can simply take our message that's been displayed. We just simply going to paste it here. And how do we now communicate? How do we now make this to communicate?
Is it
We just
link reference Java or something?
exactly, yes. So we need to add our source code, and we say it is in index.js, exactly there, right there. So if we now click, so it's always best to, if you're in a single page, you can hit Ctrl+S, the shortcut to save this page, but it's always best to save all our pages. So this can be the shortcut, which is Ctrl+K and S, or you just go into File and click on Save All. So you now save our HTML file and our JS file. And if we just go back into our browser, we can see that everything is running smoothly. So this is how we declare our very first JavaScript file. So let me just put it in a way where we have Visual Studio Code here. Does my browser allow me to do it? Yeah, okay.
I have a question about
Yeah.
the script inside the HTML file.
Okay, let me go back to the here. Yeah.
Do you need this? Do you need that at the end, the slash script?
Oh yeah, the closing tag.
Yeah, the closing
Yes.
tag. Do you need
Yes,
it?
yeah. Yes, you must do it.
Then, oh, you
You
don't
see?
need it.
No, you need it. You need it. You see the way I deleted it. So if I now control save,
Oh,
you can do it, but it's not.
I see.
The
Please go across.
syntax, yeah, the syntax is not correct. You understand?
Then, if there's a closing tag for it, wouldn't that mean that you can put something in between that as well?
In here,
Yes.
not really, because you already.
Okay. It's
Why
just a
would you?
way to save space.
Yeah, why would you put something else here? You mean here, like
Yeah.
create another console?
Yeah.
I mean, it does. It's not the syntax. Is not the right way to do it.
I see. Because it's already linked with another source.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right.
It's not much a clear syntax. So remember, when it comes to programming, we need to write clear, understandable codes for our users or our team, whoever is going to work with this code. Okay,
Okay.
so let's go back to our presentation. So we have now introduced our first step to creating our our JavaScript into and display into our browser. So now let's look into what we can do with JavaScript. So when it comes to like creating object or creating anything within our programming language, we need to have the ability to store our data type. So I'm not too sure if you're familiar with data types. You know what data types are? Like integer, string.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then we could have integer, string, boolean, or whatever. So integers will now contain positive and negative number.
Mm-hmm.
Doubles will contain well, let me go in online and
Floating number, like pi or something.
sorry, are you talking to
Like
me?
a floating number, like pi.
Yes, exactly. So let me just extract this data type. I don't have an image of data type. Let me see if I let me grab an image for it. No, not this. Yeah. Yeah, so this is an example of data types. So we have integers, which is the most used when it comes to programming language. When it comes to writing code, we could use integers or doubles. And this shows the size, what numbers they can hold. They can hold positive and negative number. And this is the range. It shows even the range of these numbers. Characters will now contain string, so wouldn't be numbers but letters. Then we have boolean, which is going to check true or false statements, and doubles will contain decimal and decimal numbers. So data type are used when we have to store some values into our variables. So our variable, as you can understand from the name, is a value that can change over the time, depending on what we want it to do. So if we want to display something, we'll now choose our data type. Now our data type is going to be either, let me make an example of Java. If we're using integers, we're going to use int as a data type, and then we have to assign a name to our box. So we now choose message to be the name to it, and what would message display is going to display hello world. So let's have a more visual example with Visual Studio. So here we have our console, which is going to display this message. I want it to display let message equal let's say hello world. And what we have to do in here in our console, we're going to delete all these and add message. Hit the save button and we just go and refresh here. You see? So this is an example of how a variable works. The reason why it shows, so what did we define here? So we have our variable. Now we have our data type, which it is let, and then we have, let will now look into our variable, and now let will be our data type, and message is going to be our variable. So we need to display our variable. So we're going to display message. And what we choose here, data type, let will now allow us to put a text message, or instead we can declare a number. So let's see if.
So let can be anything from a string or an integer.
The string, you must add quotation marks. So if we add quotation marks here, now our JavaScript would think that we're passing 3 as a text message. So we're not going to do any calculation. If we do 3 plus 3, it's not going to output 6. It just give us a text message of 3 plus 3. So hit save, 3 plus 3. While for it to do a calculation, it will be different. We have to remove the brackets, and it is now done a mathematical calculation. Does that make sense? How this variable works?
Yes. Essentially, but the let is similar to if it were an integer or a string. And when you're putting the message inside the log, it will display the answer for you.
Yes.
So console, whenever time you're typing down console, it goes straight to the console of the web page.
Exactly, correct.
So that 6 alone, how does it affect the website? Does it not do anything because it's not actually a command?
No, it doesn't do anything.
Or is it like a display? It's like saying a display image.
It's like, look at the container. So we have a container with value. We just assign a value into this container. We place it there. So it's not going to affect anything until we now code this, let's not get confused, until we code this variable somewhere else. So if we want this to affect, we will now have our bunch of commands. We can create more commands, and in whatever that command we have, we now call in message for it to affect so elsewhere. Is now, we just simply created a container. We can just leave it there. It's not going to affect our code. It's not going to do anything. But the moment we code in, we're doing something else, and we need to code these 6, we're just going to add them. Maybe we're making another calculation. We now try to do another type of mathematical calculation. We now call message again, and you now call back into that function, and that's how it's going to affect. But as it is, it's not going to do anything, because it's just a variable, just a value stored somewhere in our memory, and it's not doing anything until we actually call him back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question. So we have let and var, which are classified as variables, and we have const, which is fixed value, and this cannot be changed over the time. So this is a fixed value and it stays there. Also, we have functions. So as we have to, so there is a concept very important when it comes to all programming language. So in JavaScript, we call them function, while in Java or other programming language, we call them methods. So what does these functions and methods do? What they do, they allow us to execute some specific commands. Say, for instance, you're looking at your microwave or a TV or any sort of technological appliance. In order for them to do something, they must have a function. So that's when we now want them to execute something. So as we can see, functions are block of code designed to perform a particular task. So here we have an example of function greet, where we have our parameter, which is our name, and we want him to return something. We want him to return hello plus. So this plus is used for us to understand is not a mathematical operator, but is a special character that our programming language will use to understand that we now want to add a parameter. So if we didn't have this plus and we just had hello with brackets, this will now give a different well, let me just give an example of it. I just had it here. So if I just delete all these, no, actually, so we can call function, we call our function greet. And then we wanted to have the name, a parameter of name. So we want this to return a message.
The return, I'm trying to understand what the return truly does. Does it mean that it's like it takes the information back to the console?
Yes, you need to return a value.
Return returns the value,
yes,
to the console.
Yeah.
To be displayed.
Yeah.
I see, rather than it being written inside the code.
Okay, exactly, yeah.
Return.
Opening bracket. Hello. Add our name. Oh, sorry, I forgot the closing bracket here. So this should be visible here.
But there's nothing saying what name is, the variable name is.
Oh, exactly, yeah.
I'm getting it now.
Yeah, we need to declare that.
We need to declare what name is.
Yeah.
The function is called great, but using name.
Yeah, exactly. So the
We
same
don't
way
know
we
what
did the
name is.
example. Yeah, the same way we use message before, and we
Yeah.
just use it like a variable. We display that as a variable, so we need to add something into name. So we can use let name equal it's not displaying it.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see. So I get it now. So the function is like a advanced version of the message that we just did earlier.
Exactly.
So when you want to execute a function, you could just say greet the name, and it will ultimately say hello, hello Richard or something.
Exactly. Basically, that's what function does.
Oh, I think I understand. I now understand functions a bit more.
Okay.
So functions are like a template that you create.
They are blocks of code.
Blocks of code.
Yeah, that's the main definition for it. So they have to be used to do specific tasks. So you see, like your microwave, when you put heat in 200 degrees, for example, you call a function where you're going to set temperature 200 degrees. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but you have to input it, don't you?
Yes, exactly. So these are block of code designed to perform particular tasks. Also, we have internal interacting with HTML. So you remember how we did the example of document object model, where we can have our DOM, where we can now have we can now use our JavaScript to interact with our HTML.
Okay.
And we can just change text. So as you can see, for example, we can get the document element by ID. We can also respond to events. So there are many things we can do. So responding to events will now be done through our functions. Here we have dynamic nature of JavaScript. So what does this mean? This means that our JavaScript will now allow for dynamic manipulation of web pages. So for example, we can now be toggling classes. For example, we can now demonstrate how dynamically we can toggle our CSS on our element. And here we have an example of how the code will now be done by calling a function. Here we have an example for form validation. So this can now be used in our client side when it comes to validating a form. So what do we mean by validating a form? What do you think could it be? A type of validation for you?
I'm trying to understand this.
Validate, yeah. Okay, let me give you an example. Say you have a form, you have a online gateway, a payment gateway, where you have to input your card details. Now you're trying to validate, so you'll be asked to enter your 16-digit code. So that's a type of validation. Say, for example, you input 20 instead of 16-digit. Your JavaScript should be able to understand that you input a value that is longer than what it should actually be. So that's a type of validation. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So you know when you make online payments, right? And you
Yeah.
have to input your card details, for example. So it's a 16-digit code you have to input. Say if you input 20-digit, that should be a way for JavaScript to understanding that you're inputting something that is not correct.
Like a two-step verification.
Yes, yes. So you should understand and give you you should flag that as an error. Or say, for instance, you're filling a form, you miss like a field, and you click submit. It won't allow you to submit the form because you tell you that some fields are empty. So that's another type of validation way. So for example, when it comes to this form, you have to fill in every field is mandatory. When the field is mandatory, that means they're using a JavaScript input.
This validation on JavaScript can even be used in an actual form, can't it?
That's the example that I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
In the actual form where you have mandatory field like name, date of birth, address, so on. If you miss inputting value on your address and you click submit, that should return as failed. So you shouldn't allow you to submit the form because you're missing some mandatory
requirements.
Yes, exactly. So you're missing some mandatory field. So you were meant to add your home address, so you forgot to do it and it doesn't allow you to submit the form. So this can all be done from JavaScript validate form validation. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
one way of adding it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is everything for today's session. Is there any question you have for me?
No, I mostly asked all the questions as we went along.
Oh, okay.
One of the things I want to know now is that since this is the eighth one,
Yeah.
how am I going to be, submitting the assignments? Because I know there's 7 assignments.
No, it's one assignment with 7 tasks. I'm brief. 1 second. Let me open.
Okay, it's one assignment.
Yes, it's not 7. It's just one. So you have 7 units to study, like web design. Then you have computer
It's one
programming
assignment
for each of them. Yes.
with 7 tasks to
Yes.
implement.
Yes.
Okay, I understand now.
Yeah, it's never going to be 7 assignments. That'll be
Oh, thank
too
God. I
long.
was
Yeah,
so confused.
yeah, that'll be too long. Impossible. It's only one assignment. Yeah,
It's only one assignment with seven things to
yeah,
include.
yeah. So it'd be
All right.
one related for each session we did. So we had like 7 sessions.
How in what form and how do you want me to submit the
Word
assignment?
document, please, would be the best. Like if
Word,
you yeah, Word document if you're required to do some documentation, like to explain what you did, Word document would be best.
so you don't want to send it as the actual CSS or
Yes, yeah, that one as well, yeah, because I can open it on my Visual Studio and I can see the
okay.
outcome of it. Yeah,
Do you want me to make it into a zip file?
yes, a zip file, yeah,
A zip
that'd be great.
file.
Yeah,
A zip file. And
yes.
where do I send it to? Your email or
No,
via
so
login?
there is a monitored email box that we have. It's called learnerwork at ukversity.co.uk.
Okay, learner
And
work.
yeah, I will
Could
tell
you
you
send it
everything
to me?
tomorrow. Tomorrow we have in our assignment discussion, yeah. So we'll cover
Oh,
everything on
tomorrow.
it. Yeah. It's
All
tomorrow.
right.
So
All right.
tomorrow we'll discuss everything you need to know about writing assignment. Like I will
Is it
explain.
at 11
Do
o'clock
you
as well?
yes, do you know anything about Harvard style? How to
How
write as Harvard style.
Harvard
When it-
style.
So
Yes, I do know a bit of it.
okay, yeah. I
If
just
you
wanted to
can,
know, yeah.
yeah. Could you send me the email that you're meant to submit it in? Because I know you can send one where you can just ask what does it look like maybe
A draft.
a draft. Like you can
Oh, you
ask to
can
have a
send
look
it
at the draft.
directly to my email. I'll give you my email
Both,
tomorrow.
can you give me both emails? Of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
one to send it officially and one to send as a
The
draft.
draft. Okay, no
But
problem.
also, one other thing is that you mentioned long ago Bootstrap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, am I allowed to utilize that as well?
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Why not?
okay. Bootstrap
You can implement them.
allowed.
So if you want to have a really nice
Really
um,
nice. Yeah,
user interface, yeah, 100% you can use it. There is no issue with that.
allowed.
Yeah. Oh, of course it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
All right. Now the task makes a lot more sense to me now. Because
Yeah.
I thought you had to be divided into seven parts, and I'm thinking
No.
that's convoluted. Can't it just be all put together?
No. Or just only one. Yeah.
I feel silly now.
No worries. There's no reason to complicate our lives.
Okay, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Simple
Okay.
is better, I say.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any other question for
Oh
today?
no. That was all the questions. Like
Okay.
you just knocked two questions I've had on my mind of
Yeah.
throughout the weekend off the
Yeah.
park.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem, Joshua. And now we see you tomorrow.
All right, I'll see you tomorrow then. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Have a good one.
Bye. You too.